It's 6:45 a.m. The world is quiet. And while most are still tangled in dreams or scrolling aimlessly through their phones, a few are already winning. Not because they have more money, not because they're smarter, but because they understand one truth. The way you start your morning is the way you live your life. We live in a world that doesn't wait. The moment we open our eyes, we're already behind. The moment our feet hit the floor, we're sprinting, not towards something meaningful, but away from something essential. Ourselves. The very first sounds we hear each morning aren't birds or the soft rustle of life outside our window. They're alerts, pings, headlines, tasks. The world races to grab our attention before we even remember who we are. But what if, just for a moment, we refuse to be caught up in that race? What if we chose stillness before the world could choose for us? This isn't about being passive. It's about power. It's about reclaiming your mind before the world hijacks it. We think power looks like motion, like action, like forward movement. But real power, it starts in stillness, because the person who starts the day rooted in themselves is the one who doesn't get uprooted by chaos. You see, our minds are like sponges. In the morning, they're dry, eager, impressionable. The first thing we soak in sets the tone for the entire day. Is it panic, obligation, comparison, or is it clarity, calm, purpose? 5 minutes. That's all it takes. 5 minutes to decide that you will begin, not react. 5 minutes to sit in silence and simply breathe. You don't need an app. You don't need a plan. You don't need to light a candle or chant a mantra. You just need space between your thoughts, between your breaths, between the stimulus and your response. Stillness is not the absence of progress. It is the beginning of it. It's in those silent moments that ideas form, that fears speak, that truth emerges. It's in those quiet spaces that we reconnect with who we are, not who the world tells us to be. You might think this sounds idealistic, but it's not. It's science. It's practical. It's necessary. Studies show that even 10 minutes of mindfulness in the morning can reduce cortisol's levels, the stress hormone, by over 30. That's not just a number. That's your nervous system saying thank you. That's your heart beating slower, your shoulders dropping an inch, your thoughts becoming more your own. Think about that. A 30% reduction in stress before you've even started your day, before the meeting, before the commute, before the world asks anything of you. You've already done the one thing it can never do for you. Take care of your mind. This isn't about luxury, it's about leadership. Because the greatest leaders are not the loudest. They're the ones who pause, the ones who think before they speak, who reflect before they react, who connect before they correct. They don't start the day by asking, what do I have to do? They ask, who do I want to be? That's the question stillness allows you to answer. Oprah Winfrey, one of the most successful, influential individuals of our time, starts her day in silence. Not because she has nothing to do, not because she's immune to pressure or urgency, but because she understands that real direction comes from within. That clarity isn't something you stumble upon in the chaos of your inbox. It's something you cultivate in the calm before it. It's easy to dismiss this practice as optional, as something for people with time. But let me ask you this. Do you really have time not to do it? How much of your day is wasted in reactivity, in stress, in second-guessing decisions made from a place of tension? What if 5 minutes of stillness in the morning could save you hours of distraction, anxiety, and emotional misfires throughout the day? This is not about adding one more task to your plate. It's about clearing space off of it. It's about making room for intention. You wouldn't build a house without first laying a foundation. Why build a day? One conversation, one challenge, one moment after another, on top of a mind that's scattered and shaken. Stillness is not the opposite of productivity. It's the prerequisite for it. It's the pause that sharpens the blade. The moment that allows you to respond instead of It's not just 5 minutes of calm. It's 5 minutes of reclaiming your life. Because that's what we're doing when we pause. We're saying to the world, you don't get to tell me who I am today. We're saying, I choose. I choose what thoughts I carry. I choose the emotions I lead with. I choose the energy I give others. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to sit cross-legged on a mountain. You just need to stop before the noise starts. And if you think you don't have time, remember, every moment you give away without thought is a moment you never get back. So take it. Take the moment. Take the breath. Start small. Start where you are. And keep showing up for yourself before the world shows up at your door. Because when you start with stillness, you don't just reclaim your morning. You reclaim your power. We often wait for inspiration to strike before we act. We wait for motivation to get us moving. But what if we've been looking at it backwards all along? What if movement is what creates that motivation? What if your breakthrough isn't sitting quietly in your mind, but waiting in the rhythm of your footsteps, in the rush of your heartbeat, in the sweat on your brow? This isn't about chasing the perfect physique. It's not about chasing abs or counting calories. It's about waking up the part of you that's been dormant. Because when you move your body, you're not just firing up your muscles, you're igniting your spirit. Motion creates emotion. That's not just a catchy phrase, it's a biological truth. Your physiology is hardwired to affect your psychology. A 20-minute walk can pull you out of a mental fog. A quick stretch can shift your entire state. A few minutes of deliberate conscious movement can turn self-doubt into clarity, hesitation into momentum, and fear into drive. Think about that. Think about what happens when you slouch versus when you stand tall. Posture alone can change the chemicals in your brain. Movement isn't optional, it's foundational. You weren't designed to stay still. You were built to move, to act, to take the first step even when you're not sure where it leads. Because once you move, clarity begins to form. Confidence starts to rise. That's how leaders are born, not in stillness, but in movement. Let me tell you about James. He was like a lot of alarm goes off. Snooze. Again, snooze. He'd drag himself out of bed just in time to stumble into work half awake. He didn't hate his job. He just didn't feel alive. Then one day, something shifted. He committed to just 10 minutes of jump rope each morning. That's it. No fancy gym, no personal trainer, just a rope, a rhythm, and a decision. Within days, he felt different. Within 2 weeks, his energy was undeniable. And within a month, he was promoted, not because of the jump rope, but because of what those 10 minutes represented. Ownership, intention, momentum. See, it's not about the exercise. It's about what happens through the exercise. James started showing up to meetings with a spark in his eyes. He contributed more. He connected more. People noticed. Because when you change your state, you change how the world sees you. And more importantly, how you see you. So ask yourself, are you waiting to feel ready? Or are you ready to move and become ready? Because the first step isn't about knowing everything. It's about feeling something. Move your body and watch what else starts to move in your life. Most people wake up each day and immediately dive into the chaos. Notifications, emails, urgencies that aren't even theirs. It's like showing up to a battlefield with no armor, no strategy, no purpose, and they wonder why they feel lost, drained, and constantly behind. But there's a better way, a more powerful way, a way that starts not with action, but with awareness. You see, we all have goals. We all carry dreams that flicker like a fire inside of us. But fire, left alone, fades. It dies without fuel. And that fuel is direction, intention, clarity. Without it, your dreams don't disappear because they're impossible. They disappear because you didn't give them a map. Imagine this, just 10 minutes every morning. 10 minutes, not to scroll, not to react, but to lead. With a pen, with purpose. You don't need to write essays or manifestos, just truth, simple, raw truth. Ask yourself, what are 3 things I must accomplish today? Not a wish list, not what would be nice, but what must get done. These are the non-negotiables, the stepping stones toward something greater. Then ask, what am I grateful for right now? Because if you can't see the beauty in your present, you'll be blind to the potential of your future. Gratitude grounds us. It silences the noise and shifts our focus from scarcity to abundance. It reminds us that even in the midst of chaos, there is still good. And when you operate from that space, everything changes. And finally, ask the question that cuts deeper than any to-do list. Who do I need to become to live the life I want? That's not just reflection. It's identity work. Because success isn't about doing more. It's about becoming more, becoming disciplined, becoming courageous, becoming the kind of person your dreams require. Writing these thoughts down isn't just a morning ritual. It's a declaration. It's telling the world, and more importantly yourself, that today won't run you. You will run it. And the science backs this up. A Harvard study found that people who write down their goals are 42% more likely to achieve them. That's not just a statistic. That's transformation. That's the difference between someday and today. Think about that for a moment. What if, over time, those 10 minutes became the foundation of a life, by design instead of default? What if the life you're chasing isn't far off, but simply hidden beneath the clutter of unintentional living? This is your invitation, not to change the world overnight, but to start leading it. One word, one page, one clear intention at a time. Don't let the day dictate your life. Take the pen back. You've had it all along. Fueling your body is not just about health, it's about legacy. It's about deciding every single morning whether you're going to operate like a clunky old engine, coughing up smoke, or a finely tuned Formula One machine ready to break records. The truth is, what you eat is not just a personal choice. It's a leadership decision. When you walk into that office, that classroom, that boardroom, people don't just need your presence. They need your focus, your clarity, your resilience. And all of that begins with what you put in your mouth when the day begins. We've all seen it. Someone slams a sugary pastry, chases it with coffee, and within an hour they're jittery, irritable, unfocused. That's not fuel. That's sabotage. It's lighting a match in a gas tank and hoping it drives you forward. The science backs it up. Within 90 minutes of a high-sugar meal, your brain begins to slow, your focus begins to slip, and your emotional resilience, the thing that keeps you calm when the heat is on, starts to fade. You might still be sitting in your chair, but the best parts of you have already checked out. Now picture this, a CEO I used to work with, responsible for hundreds of lives and millions of dollars, began every day with the same breakfast: eggs, avocado, and a green smoothie. Not because he was on some trendy health kick, but because he understood the value of consistency, of removing one more decision from his morning, of fueling his body with the kind of nourishment that didn't just energize him, but anchored him. That breakfast was a quiet ritual of intention. It said, I care enough about who I serve to care about how I start my day. Eating like you give a damn about your future means understanding that your body is not a garbage disposal. It's a power plant. And you are the engineer. When you feed it protein, healthy fats, and low glycemic carbs, you are not just avoiding a crash. You're building capacity. You're choosing mental stamina over mental fog. You're preparing yourself for the hard conversations, the bold decisions, the unexpected curveball. This isn't about perfection. It's about purpose. Every time you fuel up, ask yourself, am I eating like someone who plans to make a difference today? Because your future is shaped in the ordinary moments, not the big speeches or the high-stakes meeting, but in what you choose to eat while the world is still quiet, before the emails start flying, before the pressure sets in. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be intentional. Skip the sugar bombs. Ditch the donut. Not because someone told you to, but because the work you're here to do matters. Because your ideas deserve a clear mind. Because the people counting on you deserve your best. Eat like you give a damn. Because the future does. Every day we wake up and the world is waiting. Notifications ping before our eyes are fully open. Headlines flash with urgency. Emails, messages, breaking news. It's all a race to grab our attention, to tell us what to think, what to fear, and what we're missing. But before the noise, before the chaos, we are gifted with a rare and fleeting moment. A moment when the world is still quiet. A moment that belongs to you. The question is, what will you do with it? That first sliver of your day is not just a transition from sleep to wakefulness. It's a sacred space, a window of possibility where you decide the direction of your life. And in that space, you can make a choice that will determine more than your morning. It will shape your future. The choice to feed your mind before the world distracts it. It sounds so read 10 pages of a book. Listen to a podcast that lifts you. Watch a TED Talk that makes you think. But in a world that thrives on distraction, simplicity is revolutionary. We live in a time when being busy is a badge of honor, when constant connectivity is mistaken for productivity. But deep down, we know that true growth, real lasting transformation happens in the quiet, in the consistent, in the conscious decision to learn something new every single day. And the numbers don't lie. 10 pages a day, that's not much. It's a coffee break, a scroll through social media, a few stops on the subway, but stretch that over a year and you've consumed 18 books, 18 new perspectives, 18 mentors whispering wisdom into your ear, 18 chances to understand the world and yourself a little better. That's not just information, that's transformation. Because knowledge is never passive. It changes us. It sharpens our thinking, softens our judgments, opens our minds, and perhaps more importantly, it reminds us that we are not finished, that there is always more to learn, more to become. It's easy to forget that in the daily grind, when responsibilities pile up and life demands everything we have. But when we choose to learn something new each day, we're not just adding to our intellect, we're reclaiming our identity. I met a woman named Sarah once, a single mom of two. She told me she wakes up 30 minutes early every day, just to read. She doesn't do it to get ahead in business or impress anyone. She does it because, in her words, it's the only part of the day that belongs to me, and it's where I remember who I am. That's not a productivity, that's not a habit. That's a lifeline, a moment of stillness in a storm, a personal revolution. And here's the truth. The world isn't going to slow down. The distractions aren't going away. The noise isn't going to get quieter. If anything, it's only getting louder. More alerts, more updates, more opinions. But in that noise, you still have a choice. You can let the world dictate your thoughts, or you can anchor yourself in growth, in curiosity, in intention. There is a kind of power in learning that no one can take away from you. It's the power to pause before you react, to see through the noise, to rise above the fear. When you feed your mind first, you stop living at the mercy of the world, and start living on your own terms. And that is freedom. This isn't about self-help. It's about self-leadership. It's about becoming the kind of person who leads their life, not someone who's dragged through it by external forces. Every time you learn something new, you are casting a vote for the person you want to be. You are stepping toward your future with intention, not inertia. And let's be honest, life is hard. The unexpected happens. The plans fall apart. The people we count on disappoint us. But in those moments when life shakes us, it's not our titles or our to-do lists that hold us up. It's the inner scaffolding we've built. It's the knowledge, the insight, the strength of mind we've been feeding day by day, moment by moment. That's what makes us resilient. That's what makes us unshakable. The beauty of this practice of learning something new each day is that it asks so little but gives so much. A few pages, a few minutes, a small commitment that yields exponential return. Not just in what you know, but in who you become. It sharpens your intuition, expands your vocabulary, informs your decisions. It allows you to walk into rooms and bring value, to raise children who think critically, to lead teams with vision, to love with more understanding, to live with more purpose. We spend so much time trying to fix the world, trying to fix the economy, politics, society, but the greatest impact we'll ever have begins with our own mind. When we feed them, challenge them, stretch them, we begin to see the world differently, and that's how change begins. One mind, then another. One morning, then another. Not by force, but by example. So tomorrow morning, before the headlines, before the emails, before the world lays its claim on you, make a different choice. Pick up a book, put in your headphones, feed your mind with something that lifts you, something that reminds you of what matters, something that stretches the edges of what you thought you knew. You don't need hours. You don't need a plan. You just need a decision. You see, transformation doesn't happen in a single moment. It happens in a series of small ones. A book opened, a sentence underlined, a podcast that sparks an idea. These are the moments that stack into a different future. A future where you are no longer a passive recipient of information, but an active creator of your own growth. So don't wait for permission. Don't wait for life to slow down. Don't wait until you feel ready. The world may never stop shouting, but in the middle of it all, you can choose silence. You can choose learning. You can choose to feed your mind before the world distracts it. And in that choice, you're not just learning something new. You're remembering who you really are. Before 8 a.m. you can anchor your life. Not with pressure, not with hustle culture, but with presence, intention, and small victories. You don't need to do all 10 things the internet tells you. Just choose 5 that matter, and own your morning. Because once you learn to lead your morning, you learn to lead your life.